Hello, this is Rob Mazak, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to the Life by Mazak podcast channel. Here on this channel, anything is possible. Any subject will and usually is discussed, and there's no telling how this message will unfold as we work through an idea, through an experience, or through a thought. These subjects come from the vast amount of information and experience through spirit, through life lessons, and from working with a lot of other people. Scripts are never used on this channel, and the message simply unfolds as the subject is discussed. Follow along and see where it leads us, or more specifically, where it leads me. These podcasts are produced in the hopes of helping others to benefit, to grow, and to excel in their own human experience. At Life by Mazak, we work towards helping you achieve wellness for your mind, your body, and your soul using many specialized services. Services that include psychic medium and tarot readings, quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression, intuitive Reiki healing, life coaching, and many other services. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button and share this with others. Our goal is to reach as many people as we can with the knowledge that is shared on this podcast channel. Well, hello everybody. I know it's been a couple of days since I've done a podcast. Been doing some military training, so there you go. Can't always do what I like to do or enjoy to do, which is talking to you behind this mic. But I wanted to talk tonight about renewing your mind. And I think a lot of people would take that statement very lightly and think, it's just about changing your mind, maybe just changing the way you think a little bit, do a little bit here, a little bit there. But I think it is way deeper than that. Well, I know it's way deeper than that based on my personal experience and those of many of my clients. And not to bring religion into this, but I wanted to take a passage out of the Bible that is very strong and to the point verse, and I'm not going to use all of the verse, but this was written by the Apostle Paul, I believe, and I'm going to be taking this out of context, yes, meaning that I'm not going to really talk about why this statement was made, who it was made to, the whole reason that it was even written down or discussed or verbalized by Paul. But I wanted to talk about the actual phrase or the sentence. And it's found in Romans 12, verse 2. And I'm going to read the first sentence and then we're going to talk about it. And it's a lot more powerful than I think most people believe. And it goes like this: do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, at face value, that seems, very easy to understand. But let's break it down a little bit, right? So let's talk about the pattern of this world. Most people don't really, I guess, understand what that means. And maybe what I'm going to talk about is not exactly what it was meant when it was delivered. But I think I understand what it means now after being on my own personal healing journey for quite a number of years. And in the beginning was a really strong, powerful struggle. And it's always maintenance. Because the renewing of your mind does not actually happen very quickly most of the time. It's easy to fall back into old patterns and old programs. And unless you are mindful of keeping the maintenance up on that renewal and making sure that you are keeping your mind renewed, it will easily fall back into old habits and old patterns. The first part of that sentence, which is do not conform to the pattern of this world. What does that mean exactly? Well, at least to me, it means this. We come into this world with a blank slate. Our mind, our patterns, our norms, our ideas about life are not there. It is really a blank screen, blank piece of paper. And so we must learn how to survive in this world. So we have to figure out how to do that. And at a very young age, we don't have the mental faculties and the neurons all built together and connected and things beginning to make sense. Any knowledge about where we live now, all those things got to be gathered and processed and developed in the mind. And between the ages of 0 when you're born until around 7 years old, this is where we learn like an open parachute. So the world is coming inward to us. We learn what it takes to survive, how to develop a language, how to understand the rules of the game, the norms that we are supposed to abide by, the boundaries, the laws, all the things that help us become a human that can operate in this world. And during that time, you learn like an open book. I mean, it's definitely and completely unfiltered. It just goes straight in, and whatever goes in starts to become part of the program and the patterning for your life. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot change that, but most people are not aware that that has actually happened, and that's what's going on in their life, that all the things that keep happening to them, and they don't understand why they keep experiencing the same things in their life, that they keep bringing and attracting the same types of things in their life that they don't necessarily want. The problem is that these things are wound up in our subconscious. And our subconscious is about 95% of our mind, to say it easily or simply. And so it really is a good thing in a lot of ways, because when we're young, in those 0 to 7-year-old age group, we learn to walk, we learn to talk, we learn to write, we learn to communicate, we learn a language, all these things. Is we don't necessarily have to relearn those things. Now, unless you've had an accident or something happens with a disease process or something, you might have to relearn and reconnect those patterns, yes. But under normal normal conditions, I guess best way to put that, you don't necessarily have to learn to walk again. You don't have to learn to write again. You don't have to learn to read again. All those things can be improved on as you go through life. However, those things are embedded and are on automatic function. They're on automatic pilot. You don't have to think about it consciously. If we had to think about everything consciously, it wouldn't work very well. We'd be exhausted within a couple hours of our day, and we wouldn't be able to function. The other thing that's interesting is what also gets wrapped up in there is things that we don't necessarily want to experience in our later life. If it's, we've had influences through our parents and our cultures, things that might have happened to us that are not good, things that people that have said to us, all those things also get embedded into the program and become what the subconscious deems as normal. So we become like our world. And so the passage in Romans talks about not being conformed to the pattern of this world. It's, I think, in my opinion, the pattern of your world, because your world really is being developed and created by the perceptions and the truths that you hold at a very, very deep level that have been embedded in your subconscious through many, many experiences, the way you were raised, like we talked about, your cultures, relationships you've had, the parents that you had. All these things are wound up in the subconscious and they become part of your world. And so that is why many times in your life you attract many of the same types of relationships that never seem to work out, perhaps, or the same. If you look at all the different relationships you've had and the people that you end up surrounding yourself with, they are very much the same all the time. It is because your subconscious, based on the norm that it has been programmed with, patterned with, will go out and seek out the things that will support those perceptions. And those are the things that it will help you realize and notice and experience in the world. I've used the example many, many times. If you wanted to buy a red Corvette, whether you could buy one or not, and you start researching it and looking at them and talking about it and on, carrying on and keeping it in your conscious mind for a good bit of time, you will begin then to experience red Corvettes a lot. They'll all of a sudden be all around everywhere. Not that they weren't there. It's just that your subconscious is now going, okay, we're developing a new norm here. We're developing an idea or a new perception, a new truth. And it wants to help you create that reality. Conforming to your world can be a good thing, like I said. Maybe you've had a wonderful life. Maybe you were raised to be in abundance, and those are the programs you have, and you always have what you need, and loving and caring parents, and or whatever else you've had during your childhood. But most of us don't have that experience. We had a lot of things that happen in our 0 to 7 that are not necessarily what we would want to continue to happen in our adult life, yet it does. So we do tend to conform to our world. In this case, passage says the world, but let's talk about our world, right? All right, and so let's go on to the second part of that sentence, right? It says, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What exactly does renewing your mind mean? Well, in my opinion, once again, it has to do with reforming the norms in your mind and reprogramming your subconscious mind, which does take a lot of work, because when the subconscious mind develops these norms and these patterns and these programs, they're almost hardwired in a lot of ways. Neurons and connections and all those things in your brain, in your mind, they begin to connect and form these patterns that are very intricate and deep and connected all over the place. It is not impossible. It just takes work. You have to actually diligently and consistently work on those things. And you can use positive affirmations and different things. Yes. Really, let's look at it as if we were talking about a trophy case. In my mind, everybody has a trophy case. So this is kind of a hypothetical situation, right? We'll talk about me, right? So I am a walking billboard of how good I am, and that's how I would want to present myself to the world, because nobody wants to present all the bad things and the things that are lousy, right? And so if you look at my military uniform, for example, there's this high rank sitting in the middle of my chest. I got badges out the wazoo, right? I got tabs and awards and ribbons and just all kinds of things. I have coins and certificates and 4-inch binder full of attaboys and awards and training and all these different things. My office has all those wonderful things, and walk around my house, right? You see pictures of people that are smiling and people that are happy, and, a marriage certificate and all those things that we're outwardly presenting as the best parts of us to the world. And we do not, by and large, very few people want to present to the world all the lousy things that they are. We want everybody to feel good about us. We want everybody to think we are a very good human, a very good person, a very accomplished person. Very seldom will you see somebody in their home, for example, with a divorce decree on the wall, or a 10th place ribbon from a race. Anything like that shows the parts of our life that are not necessarily meeting up to what the world thinks is the standard. We tend to measure ourselves against other people, and we want to present to us to them, our trophy case. Look at me. Look at what I've done. I mean, I've been asked before, what do you do? And if I would really break it down, it would take a while to break that out. I've got a million titles, I got all kinds of experiences. Yes. And that is what has helped me become who I am today. But those are in the past, right? Honestly, nobody really cares what you did in your past, to be honest. They really care about who you are now and what you can do for them and how you can contribute to the world. Let's just say we look at the trophy case in our mind. And I'm going to use another analogy before we talk about that. Let's just imagine that we're sitting in a food court in a mall. I don't know if anybody or everybody has done that, but let's just put that visual out there. And a friend of yours walks up and just sits down and goes, you are a really lousy person. You should really consider having a different career. You just really suck at what you do. And just goes on and on about how terrible you are. You would look at that person, even if you didn't say it, you would certainly think it. I can't allow them to talk about me like that. I can't allow them to do that. Why would anybody talk bad about me, whether it's true or not? And it's just to imagine that every time you see this person, he goes, yep, still a douchebag, still a lousy person, and just go on and on. Eventually, you're going to be subject to that negativity. The thing is, we do not allow people to talk to us like that. Yet, if you were to go into my mind and everybody else's mind on this planet, this world, you would find that we are the worst at talking about ourselves, way more than anybody in this world will ever do to us. We spend so much time downgrading ourselves, talking so bad about ourselves in our mind and our thoughts. And it's like we are programming ourselves and or perpetuating the programs that are already happening in our subconscious. We are allowing the negativity to live rent-free in our mind. And we wonder why our life never changes, right? And so when I was going through my personal journey early on in the journey, rather, not necessarily early in life, I remember being told this by my spirit guide that, I really need to look at my own trophy case. And as I was given that message, she also showed me what my trophy case looked like. And it was not pretty. There was all these things in there on the shelves that were like screwed in tight. I mean, nailed in. All these negative things, all these things that are bad times in my life that I've never dealt with or worked through, and just left them on the shelf, so to speak. I mean, it was like cobwebs and it was dusty and but the representation that I was given made me realize that I was the victim of my own success, if you will, or demise. I mean, I was the one that was creating my life and or allowing my life to be created and to move along based on what has happened to me before, and not cleaning up my trophy case, pulling those things out, looking at them for what they are, dealing with those things, whatever it took, counseling or talking to people or meditating on these things and looking at those experiences and figuring out what to do with them, to settle them, to unscrew them from my trophy case and the shelves and clean off the cobwebs and make the inner trophy case look like my outer trophy case, because my outer trophy case is just wonderful. I mean, even my car, I got DV plates on it. Army sticker or whatever. I want people to think I am a very accomplished and well-rounded human being. I'm not saying I'm not, but the point is, if we were to compare our outer world with our inner world, it is a very large disparity. And the thing is that the other people can't necessarily see within us to understand what's really going on. But we have to get away from the programming that we don't desire to create the outcomes in our lives. I speak to so many people about the same things over and over and over again, and it's like every time they come and say, talk to me about a relationship. Well, this one is also going down the tubes, and it's like when you compare and look at the relationship that they're talking about now and all the other ones they've talked to you about from the past, it is the same patterns over and over and over again. And people simply cannot seem to get out of their own way because they don't know what's happening. The thing is, we have to learn to live on purpose. We have to learn to renew our mind, to change how we think and be consistent about it. It's one thing to want a different life, and it's another thing to do something about it. Because if we want a different life, it has to start with our thoughts. Every single thing that's created and ever happened in this world, this reality, has begun with a thought. Thoughts do create. Words do create. And so we have to figure out how we can begin to change the process and the programming. And so sometimes you can do this in a more elaborate way. I do hypnosis, and this is another way to help kind of reprogram the subconscious mind without the conscious mind being in the way, because it tends to not allow us to go into danger zones, right? Scary places, although they're not necessarily scary, it's just what we're programmed to believe. But hypnosis can take away that subconscious mind for a time and then allow a pattern change. And sometimes it's quite dramatic with just one session. Other times it takes more. And that is one way to do it. It can be a little expensive, of course. But I mean, there are very simple ways, because our subconscious mind, even as an adult or past 7 years old, still records everything that is in our environment. What we surround ourselves with, the people we surround ourselves with, the TV programs we watch, the friends we hang out with, the things we do, everything is recording, and it is going in completely unobstructed, which means it goes right into the programming. And so you do become like your environment. You become a product of your environment, those things you allow in your life to be exposed to you. And so that's one way to change things. And it is very uncomfortable to do that, because it is a very scary and unknown place to pull away from what you classify as normal and safe and what you're comfortable with. Now, that's the only way you're going to change, is to get out of your comfort zone, though. Because if you don't change something, you'll always remain the same. Your patterns will go over and over and over again. We have, 30,000 thoughts, I believe, something like that. Women generally have more than men, I'm told. But anyway, we have a lot of thoughts every day, somewhere 30 to 60,000, depending on what book you read. When you really look at those thoughts and those things that happen in our mind every day, about 95% of them are the same every day for years and years and years. And you wonder why a large part of our life is always the same. It keeps coming out the same. No matter what we try in relationships or jobs or careers or businesses, they all seem to follow the same pattern of failure or demise or whatever. And if you really were to analyze your life and you really detail it down, you would discover that's probably true. There is science behind that. Joe Dispenza does a lot of that. He's like the king of meditation, in my opinion. It is very true that our subconscious runs our life. And so we have to dig really deep, because it is that part of our mind that we don't necessarily have direct access to, like our conscious mind. Because my conscious mind right now is allowing me to talk, and it's helping me process these words, and I'm doing it deliberately. And so it's not necessarily on automatic pilot, but our subconscious mind runs all the time in the background, whether you're sleeping, driving, walking, working, it doesn't matter. I mean, how many times have you driven somewhere and you don't remember how to get there? It's a program. Your subconscious mind is programmed to drive, and it's going to help you get from A to Z, whether you're paying attention or not. And most of the time, that's true. And so, when it comes to renewing our mind, to transform our mind, it takes work. And you can't just do it for a couple of days. You have to consistently do it over time. It takes time to develop new habits, new patterns, unwire and unwind some of those neurons in our mind, because they're, like I said, nearly hardwired. And so we have to change that. Once again, you have to live a very purposeful life. And let's go back to the passage again, right? Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I challenge you guys to look at renewing your mind. Start with an inventory of your life and look at old patterns and look at things, and you're going to have to make some hard decisions if you want to change things. If you want a different life, you have to change something. It's just no way around it. You have to do the hard work. You have to go into your trophy case in your mind, look at what's going on, ask for guidance through God or through meditation or through spirit guides or whatever it is you do, where you get your guidance from or you feel you get your guidance from, and really pay attention and listen to that inner voice as you go through this process, because it is not an easy process. I remember I went hardcore on it for 9 months. I mean, every day, every second I had, I was digging in, I was meditating, I was listening, I was writing, journaling, really, really doing the hard work. I tell you, it was the worst and the best time of my life. It is hard, it sucks, it's not fun, but it has definitely helped me develop new patterns and new ideas and new ways of thinking. And the beautiful part is that I now know when I'm falling back into old patterns. I can see it happening like a billboard in my mind. It's like, you're being stupid, Rob. You're going back into old patterns and old things and old ways of thinking. And sometimes it's cool just to kind of hang out in the anguish and it's okay, let me just hang out there for a minute. I can no longer say that I don't know. It's just not possible, because I do know. And so once you put the rose-colored glasses on, you can't take them back off, right? Please, 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 people, let's transform this world. Let's transform the world by transforming ourselves, because you cannot give the world or people in this world anything that you don't have. If you want to help others, you have to have the tools yourself. You have to have helped yourself. You have to have those gifts yourself. You have to have what you need or want to give to others. Otherwise, you're just a talking head. You're not practicing what you preach, I guess you'd say. And so, there you go. Let's transform this place, shall we? The world is going through great transformation right now. Is going through the most impressive awakening process that has probably ever happened in human history, according to many, many, many channelers I've been listening to. And what I get as well, I get the same types of things. And so we are part of the process. This is the opportune time to change your world by renewing your mind, because you are being given the awakening energy, the energy to enhance that process. Don't waste it. Take advantage of it. Let's do something about this place. Let's do something with this awakening, this new energy, this new dimension we might be going into. There's a lot of ways of saying it. And I challenge you guys to actually change your life. Just give it a try. See what happens. Start small. Do something easy. And then once you see how well it works and how easy it works, you will get hooked and you will want to change everything about your life. So very cool. Hey, go on over to my website when you get a chance, lifebymazak.com, and look around. I do love to help people get started. I get to hit the start button. I don't get to do the work. That's your job. But providing people the insights and the tools that they need to move forward is what I get to do. And it is so much fun to work with people because a lot of the things I've experienced, learn and know, have knowledge of is my experience, but blended in with everybody else's. And so the more we work with each other, the more we help each other, the better all of us become. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to hearing from you. Stay strong and live your life.